First up is Kristen Henderson.
It's a good thing I got here.
Yeah. You would have missed your spot.
Yeah, should I stand?
Yes.
Okay. This is a whole large thing. So tell me again, 3 minutes, 2 minutes?
3 minutes.
Okay, so a little bit about me. I'm originally from Colorado, but I was coming to New Mexico for vacations every year since I was 12. And when my husband, who is a physicist at the lab, had opportunities in 3 different parts of the country, I thought this was absolutely where we wanted to come. So this is really heavy. All right. I don't think so. Okay, I'm going to wing it anyway. So my background is I have an undergraduate degree from Claremont McKenna in philosophy, and I have a law degree from UCLA. My working background is that I have practiced law, and then I actually moved into software, and this is a really important background, I think, for this job because I was the person in the middle. I'm a non-technical person, but I was the product manager who worked with all these different groups to define what the software would be, and we ended up making great software that's still in use today, but we had really disparate groups of people that I had to bring together, and I think that's a skill set I have to work within the community, to listen to all the different viewpoints and help bring together the most important common elements. After we moved here, I was a stay-at-home mom, and this, I think, is also a really important background to have for this job, because I think even with our economic development, one of our most important things is to make sure we have a lively and interesting town that helps the lab to recruit, and that would also help economic diversity, help those people to stay here and to recruit. And having a town that works for everybody, including the families that are here, I think is a really important background. Because both the jobs I had in the past were incredibly time intensive, I chose to work here in a job where I can control my own time more, and that's as a real estate agent. And that also is a great background. I know people get tired of realtors running for office here, I've heard, but frankly, I think it's helpful. I know all of the White Rock neighborhoods, I've been in all of our floor plans, I know all of our, not all of our floor plans, but of the ones in White Rock, and all of the neighborhoods certainly in town, and a lot of our issues about our housing and what possibilities we might do to move forward. The reason I chose to run for office is I believe in this town. This is an incredible place to live, and we do have people who move here specifically to live here because it's safe and it's beautiful and we have good schools and we have, the lab here. But we do need to take all of us into account when we make our decisions. And we have a lot of important decisions coming up, and that's what I would commit to do, is to take all of us into account, including those of us who'd like some reasonable progress and our families in town. And that's basically why I'm here, and I look forward to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up in the rotation, Michael Redondo.
Hi, my name is Michael Redondo. I grew up in Los Alamos. I moved here when I was 3 years old. Of course, that wasn't a choice I made, but I've come to love this town. This is my home, and I'm running for office for a number of reasons. I left to go to college, and after getting my bachelor's degree, I came back and had the opportunity to join the Peace Corps. So I left again and served as an environmental conservation volunteer in the Republic of Panama. After returning, I started a small business here in town. It didn't work well enough for me to make a living, so I left again to get a master's degree. I got a master's degree in community and regional planning, and have since returned to town again. I own a small business here. I do a number of things to try and make a living, from my planning consulting firm to I make handmade pottery, and I'm selling that. I also referee high school soccer, so I'm doing everything I can to make a living, but it's not easy. And one of the main reasons I'm running for council is because I want this to be a town where young people like myself can return to town and actually make a living and not necessarily have to work at the lab. I also want this to be a town where young people graduate from high school, plan to go away for college, but also plan to return. I want this to be the kind of town where people want to stay, particularly young people. There really aren't a whole lot of us that lot of things that I can do, given my background in planning, to help us move forward and help us retain those people. One of the big things that I really would like to see done is have us take a look at our development code, the zoning code that was written in 1968. It hasn't been really updated since. We've had some minor updates. We're looking at potentially updating the sign code portion of that. But I think there's a lot we can do to help particularly small businesses and diversification of our economy so that this can be a place where young people can stay and succeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Next up is Pete Sheehy.
Good evening, I'm Pete Sheehy. I've lived and worked here since 1986 after serving in the Air Force and going back to school to earn a PhD in physics at UCLA. I've had a satisfying career in X Division at the lab, but I retired in the VSP this April. I'm still a guest scientist, but I'm happy to have the extra time to give to my family and community. The people I work with will tell you I'm a hard worker and a team player. In working with bipartisan political groups such as the Los Alamos Committee on Arms Control and International Security, I learned from my late friend Dave Thompson how to be an effective advocate. Be persistent, be well-informed, and make balanced arguments. I've been active in the community, such as serving on the Los Alamos County Planning and Zoning Commission since 2008. In my work at the lab and in the community, I've been a consensus builder, and I think I've shown the judgment, stamina, patience, and good humor needed to make a good county councilor for this town. When I ask people what they think about their county government, they tell me they're concerned about the aggressive, some say extravagant spending being done by the county at a time when the lab's budget and the county's budget is being cut. At the same time, they want us to go ahead with important investments in education, infrastructure, and economic development, things that will help us make our town a more inviting place for everyone, from students and single people to families with children to retired people. I've done all of these things in my time here. I think I can help provide a balance between these concerns. I'm ready to take the time to look carefully at everything our county spends money on. In tax revenues spent wisely on education, infrastructure, and economic development are good investments for Los Alamos, and they'll pay off for all of us in the long run. But we have to be totally honest with the taxpayers about the costs and benefits if we expect their support for such investments. People are in pretty good agreement about priorities: public safety, infrastructure, education, and economic development, followed by improvements to our recreational amenities. Economic development is a priority for this town. I look forward to discussing today how we can improve that. We can afford all the important things for our community as long as we prioritize. Thank you.
Thanks, Pete. Up next, Vincent Cherubel.
I moved to Los Alamos in 2003 to take a staff position at the laboratory. And after working here for a few years, I was humbled and honored to be elected to the Los Alamos County Council in 2008. In my spare time, I serve as a lector at the Immaculate Heart of Mary Parish, and I'm also a member of the Knights of Columbus. This year I had the honor to fund a hole at the tournament to sponsor, with the proceeds would sponsor local high school students with scholarships. During my time on the county council, I voted consistently against wasteful spending. I did not support the new municipal building, not because I don't believe we need a municipal building, but I feel the one that we chose was too big and expensive for our community. I was the county councilor who voted against the $380,000 study for roundabouts on Trinity Drive, not because I don't want to see improvements to our sidewalks and more pedestrian access, but because I had concerns about the concept, and ultimately it was proven that the single lane roundabouts would not work on Trinity. And finally, when we had a visitor center in White Rock, I voted against a $1 million increase in the budget because I believe as elected officials, we have to hold the line on our budgets. We cannot count on continued GRT revenue from the laboratory, and it's likely that there will be reductions in the future. The most important job of a public official is to look carefully and critically at spending. And I'm running for re-election to be a common sense, fiscal conservative voice on the council. I feel that we need to make as our highest priority attracting more young families to live in our community. And we can do that by supporting our public schools. And that's why, as county councilor, I introduced an ordinance that would give our public schools 100% of the lease money from the Trinity site, $512,000 a year initially, so that our children can have the best educational opportunities. I feel that we have to make more housing and retail options available in our community through private enterprise. And the county has a number of mechanisms that we can utilize to bring that about. And finally, we have to be a champion of small businesses and technology companies that are just getting started. The county is in a unique role to help, and we're going to talk about later this evening some ways that we can help. But I feel that as county councilor, I have been very supportive of new technology companies getting started in our community. County government has a unique role, and can do things that other entities cannot do in the community. I believe we can make investments in our community and live within our means, and that's why I'm running for another term on the county council.
Thank you, Vince. Next is Mark Blake.
I spent some time writing this, so I think I'm going to read it tonight. I'm a New Mexico son. I was born and raised in Santa Fe, and have been a resident of northern New Mexico for over 40 years. Since 1983, my family and I have lived in Los Alamos County, about half in White Rock and half in Los Alamos. My wife, Bonnie, and our families have a long history in the community. Our relatives have worked at C.B. Fox, been a ranger at Bandelier, opened the first shoe store in town, planted the grass at the schools, and been a producer for plays at Los Alamos Little Theater. My wife, Bonnie, and I also have been parents of 6 children and 1 grandchild, ranging from 29 years to 4 months. And our children have had the opportunity to attend almost all of the schools in the county and live in almost every neighborhood. I am a U.S. veteran, serving for 6 years on board the nation's first nuclear-powered surface ship, USS Long Beach. I have an associate degree from this school, UNMLA, a Bachelor of Science from Regents College, and a master's degree from Duke University in Engineering Management. I started my career in 1983 here at Los Alamos at the Clinton P. Anderson Mason Physics Facility, now Lance. I have a hard time still calling it Lance, I want to call it LAMP. Since that time, I have had the opportunity to work across the institution, and at one time or another, I have been in almost every technical area at Los Alamos. I have been a manager at the laboratory since 2003 and have effectively and efficiently managed large staffs and multi-million-dollar budgets. I'm a graduate of Leadership Los Alamos and Leadership New Mexico, and serve on the board of Leadership Los Alamos and the Power Chaplain Service. I've been engaged and involved in the community for many years through Leadership Los Alamos, through Scouts, through my coaching with Los Alamos schools. I understand the community and the regional issues we all face, and have a great deal of leadership and management experience to make a difference. I excel at building coalitions that define problems, develop solutions, and achieve results. I find ways to turn no into yes, to be positive, to add value, and to provide the most benefit for the most people while always being an excellent steward of the taxpayers' dollars. That's a little bit about who I am. I want to thank you all for taking the time to attend this forum and learn more about me and my position on the issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Last but not least, Steve Gearings.
Hi, I'm Steve Gearings, and I moved to Los Alamos in 1979. Started a job at the lab as a mechanical engineer. So I've been in town over 33 years, lived in White Rock most of that time. And the one thing I want to point out is over those 33 years, I've been about every kind of different volunteer that you can be in this town. Okay, some of the earlier volunteers were not very official volunteers. They were more like clubs, softball organizations, things like that. Little League, okay? My Little League team won the county tournament in 1983. So, been engaged with those kind of activities. The other thing I want to point out about myself is that I grew up on a farm. I grew up on a dairy. And I think that's an important thing because in my formative years, I want you to know that we didn't spend beyond our means. There's no way we could. So then, to be honest, back in February or March, running for this job was the furthest thing from my mind. And it was not on my mind. And I'm filling a position that was vacated when Roger Waterman stepped out. He went through the primary. So I'm a fill-in, okay? So, but why did I decide to fill in? When you take a step back and you see what's going on, a key thing that's important to me now is the county's at a critical tipping point. There's a lot of progress that's being planned, a lot of things to move forward, and being who I am and being how I've contributed to county government and to the schools and to the various activities over the last few years, I didn't want to stand on the side. I'd rather have the reins in my hands than in somebody else's. So that's basically why I'm competing for this job. I want to be one of the people that's in the 7 chairs, okay? So I'm going to read to you what I wrote down 2 months ago when I started this exercise, this exciting journey. And these are my priorities. I'm an advocate for balanced community investments, especially infrastructure revitalization. I'm a proponent of the county's established economic vitality priorities, which we'll probably be talking some tonight. A supporter of the positive momentum promoting regional partnerships and collaborations. That's Los Alamos leading the regional community in support of the laboratory, by the way, and a voice for mutually beneficial collaborations with the schools. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Steve. That brings us to the question and answer period. And I think Stan is going to kick it off with the first question.